So where do y'all run into timers at? So what do you think timers? What do you think timers is for? Delay. So where do y'all run into that in your house? Uh, we got timers. We got timers in your car. We got all kinds of timers. You never turn your headlights off anymore. Lock your doors, the lights come on, and then make sure the lights go back off. You get out, you open your door, and you lights go out for some time. You're down the light, so it's all over the place now. So timers. So we have four major categories, and we have most of them here. We have what we call a dashpot timer. A dashpot timer depends on a fluid moving between two chambers. And what you do is you have an adjustment where you can control the rate of the flow. So the only reason you're going to run into these is if you're in a real old application or you're working with somebody that wants nothing but relay logic instead of PLCs, right? That's an interesting story. Dang it. Looks like it's going to take a while to switch. So this is a dashpot timer. And so what it's got a fluid inside this chamber right here. And we have an adjustment. Oh, I got it covered up. We have an adjustment right here. So basically all you're doing is changing the size of an orifice, which either lets the fluids go through faster or slower, right? Understand that? So I come over here and I energize my relay, and you can actually see the thing moving, and then you hear the contacts close, right? Now when I let it go, then the contact just got, it's not, the spring is normally what would happen if I let it go, then it would redo them instantly. So this is a dashpot timer. Now, if you wanted a precise time on that one, you would have to use a stopwatch, right? That makes sense. And you'd have to time it, and you'd have to do what? Play with it until you got it right. So those type of we have this runs off a synchronous motor. So this is a synchronous clock. So it runs off a synchronous motor, which means it runs at a precise speed. There's no slip involved. Of course, this is one of those. Here you go. Somebody can get this. And then we have a solid state timer. We have what we call a time. We have an off delay and an on delay. We'll look at that. And then we have a programmable timer. We're going to be using a programmable timer. So just a solid state timer, you can't change the function of it. Either it's going to be what we call an on delay timer, or it's going to be what we call an off delay timer. Programmable timer means what? It does all kind of timing functions besides the two basic ones. And then of course we got a PLC. PLCs, you just program the timers. You just program them. Of course, dashpot timers. This is what they're talking about here. So what you're doing is you're metering the fluid passing between two chambers, and you do it with just an orifice, kind of like your dang faucet where you're metering the flow of the water, we do exactly the same thing. These things that work exactly as a faucet on your house. And what they're doing is just flowing into chambers, right? You understand that? So it's got a spring in there that's trying to push it from one into the other. Synchronous timers, these are really neat. All you have to do is just come up here and set the time you want. When they're energized, they go and these things are really precise. So this might be a timer that you would do if you wanted everything done with relays. Now your timers are only programmed probably into a program controller. Solid state timers, these are exactly what they say they are. They're totally electronic, which means they are going to have to be powered up to work, right? Your on delay timers, you got no problem. The off delay problem, timers are going to do something a little different. So I'll show you all this one. This is so this is an timer. This is a program. So we use a program timer. So a lot of show and tell. Right off the bat, when the programmable timer comes along, you'll know it's got a lot of dial switches on it, right? Because not only do we need to be able to set the time, we also got to be able to tell it what type of timer it's going to be. This one we would have to look at the data sheets. The timer we're going to be using, it's actually on the front, so it's a little easier to program that thing. Retentive contacts. Retentive contacts mean they're going to stay true the whole time. Non-retentive means they're going to be timed. This is not exactly, that's true in PLCs. So on delay timers, what are on delay timers going to do? So we energize the on delay timer, we'll call it the coil. Energize the coil on delay timer. What does that mean? So we just turn the timer on. So that means the delay is going to start when the coil is energized. So normally closed contacts, they'll be true. Normally open contacts will be false, right? You understand? Until it times out, and then I said that backwards. So your normally closed contacts will be false. Normally open contacts will be closed. When it times out, they'll go back to their original position. So normally open is when the timer, normally open and normally closed. These are terms we use when the timer is not timed. Okay? With an on-delay timer function, the contacts close after the timing cycle is completed. So did I say that right a while ago? I think I said it right the first time. No, I said it wrong. So here we got normally open, normally closed contacts. And we come up here and we close this. Well, this is an on-delay timer, so these are going to stay in their original position until it reaches its time, and then the contacts will change. When you de-energize it, they'll instantly go back to their normal position. Everybody okay? This shows you the dashpot timer, which is a good drawing. These are just timing. Off-delay timers start timing when you de-energize the coil. So on-delay timers start timing when you energize the coil. Off-delay timers start timing when you de-energize it. That makes sense? When you get out of your car, your lights stay on a certain amount of time. That will be an off-delay timer. on the light timers means if I need to turn off my lights, it would give back with it have to pass a certain amount of time before they came on, right? Does that make sense? Any questions so far? Oscillator timer contacts circuits may be, so this is where we need to look at symbols. So let's see if we find the symbols in our book. So here's our symbols. So what figure is this in the book? 1616. So mine's chapter 13. Now, first thing you need to know about a timer contact is that you got an arrow at either points toward the switch or points away to the switch. If the arrow points toward the switch, these are on delay timers. If the arrow points away from the switch, then the contact is an off delay timer, which should make sense, right? This one's not drawn real well, but if it goes below it, this is going to be a normally open. If it's drawn above it, this is going to be a normally closed. So we can get on delay timers with normally open, normally closed contacts. We can get off delay timers with normally open or normally closed contacts. And some timers have instantaneous contacts in them. I've never seen one of those. So I guess it could happen. Okay. So we've already seen these, right? Okay. So y'all be able to identify those on tests. So if it points toward the contact, it's what? On delay. If it points away, it's off. And then it's either going to be normally open or normally closed. Okay. A one shot means, and these only come true in your programmable counter. So this is one, just about every programmable timer I've ever seen gives you the ability to separate what we call a one shot. So over here we close the contact, the output becomes true, then it's going to stay true for a certain amount of time, and then it's going to go false, even though, I'm sorry, this is the contact closes, this is the time that the coil would be energized. Once it's energized, the output goes true, stays true for a certain amount of time, then it drops off even if the coil is still true. These are what we call one shots. You understand those? Yes or no? Then we have a recyclable timer or a cycle timer. This is the thing that we've got, that mechanical one. Here the input goes true. This would energize the coil on the timer. And what does the output do as long as the coil is energized? It just sits there in cycles, right? You understand that guy? Yes, no? This is the little motor that we have that y'all use to simulate a held closed contact. It's got two motors, and as long as that motor's running, that little guy will go what? It'll just generate a cycle. So this is a type of timer. We're not running into these. So that's 4 timers right there already that we can do with a programmable timer. We can set it up to be on delay. We can program it. We'll probably program it to be a one shot. Probably program it to be a cycle timer. So a programmable timer basically replaces a lot of different timers, right? The guys that you're going to run into, what you got to do? Yeah, and it's programmed. You select what type of timer you want. So I'll see if I can find y'all's timer. Y'all need to remember who I'm reading this from. So this guy right here does a recycle timer. delay on break would be the off delay timer. Then it's got a one shot, and it's got something called retrievable one shot. So this is the programmable timer we're going to use. What's nice about this one, you got to turn a dial. You got little codes up there, like DB and stuff like that, so you have to look that up in a manual. This guy right here, it's actually written on the side. So we got a slide switch, and we just flip it into which one we want it to be. And then we got a multiplier, and then we got a dial. So I think the biggest thing on the multiplier is 10 on the dial. So if I put a multiplier of 1, then that means you get a timer. You can get a timer anywhere from 0 to 10. If I put it in 001, then that means that's the maximum you can get at 1 second. So, that's the way we would program the time once we program what type of counter timer we want. And this is called a multifunction or programmable timer, and you're somewhere on there. Either you're going to get the data sheet that shows you how to do that, right? You might have a bunch of little tiny switches we call dip switches. So those little tiny switches up there, we call them dip switches. Those are what you use to set your multiplier. And how do they get to that dip switch? Because they're exact same time. And we on digital, we have these little integrated circuits. They're called dual inline packages. Acronym would stand for what? Dip, and they're exactly the same size as that thing. They hook up the same way. So we call those dip switches. So somewhere on that timer, this timer, I like it because it shows you exactly what you need to do on the timer, and you don't have to find this one. When you get into the sensors class and you use this other timer, you don't have to look up the actual manual on that thing to tell you what switch to turn to, set up what timer you need, how do you set up the multiplier, how do you set up the amount of time. So just about all these programmable timers have the ability to do that. And they probably got at least 4 timers on there, right? They probably got a lot. On delay, off delay, a one shot, and a recycle timer. That one also has, everybody okay? These are still multifunction timers. I'd have to run into this. So look at all the dip switches you have to put in different situations to get what you need. We have what we call a contact. We have what we call a supply voltage timer. A supply voltage timer requires the control switch to be connected so that it controls power to the timer coil. So these are supply voltage control timers is what you usually call them. Okay. So the desktop timer, these would be voltage control timers. The synchronous timer, these would be a voltage control timer, right? When we get into a programmable timer or solid state timer, things changes. Because these are solid state. They're electronic, which means they have to have power to operate. So when we look at this timer that comes around, let's see, we got what we call a delay on make. And then we have a delay break. Delay on make and delay on break. The delay on make is going to be your on delay. Delay on break will be your off delay. So guys, let's go ahead and take another break. I know I can see y'all getting antsy back there. 10 minutes. We're doing these are all what we call voltage control. So they start timing the applied voltage or to the device. We'll call it a timer coil. We use exactly the same symbol on the solid state timers, even though technically these guys do not have a coil. But for the actual contact itself, the control itself, we'll use the symbol for a coil. I don't know what that. These are not usually your on delay timers. These are your off delay timers. So what we have to do with solid state timers is we have to power them up all the time for them to work, right? That makes sense? So an on delay timer, contact control timer, what we would do, so when we looked at our menu over there, it said, one of them said delay on make, the other one said delay on break. Are we okay? Okay. So if I was to come over here on a solid state timer that needed power, then what I would do is your contacts, which I think is, I can't remember what it is let's just use 1 and 2. What we would do is we would just put a jumper wire right there. And it's on, this would set it up for delay on make, but the contacts are already, the control is already made, right? You understand that? So when this right here closes, then the power, then the timer would work because it's going to say, okay, I've got power on it, and these two contacts, this contact is made. Y'all understand that? That makes sense? Really? We'll see when we get to the lab. The problem we have is when we go to an off delay timer. So an off delay timer means I press the button, the timer gets power, I release it, and now nothing works, right? You understand that? So what we have to do on an off delay timer is we have to do this. We have to hook it between L1 and then L2. And then we have to use the contact. So what we would do is we would have another, we'd have to add another relay up here. I'm just going to put a push button up here. That would be controlling these contacts right here. So instead of me trying to do it there, let me do it on a. So delay on make. So what we have on these guys is we have two contacts. We have a power lead. We have two power leads that we have to power it up. And then this powers up the timer, right? You understand that? And then to make it start timing, we have two leads that come out. And according to this, we would put a set of contacts right there. So I got two conditions where I can set this up on delay on make. So that would be for a completely different circuit. Give myself enough room to draw this. And we'll call this CR. I got a push button right there. Well, what we would say is I would come over here and I would hook my timer directly between L1 and L2 because it's solid state. It needs to have power, right? You understand? And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to put a contact right here. And then if we call this timer 1, then down here I'd have a timer 1 contact. In fact, let's draw it right. So on delay, what would be the symbol? Normally open on delay, what would I put? I'd put this, I'd come down, I'd put the arrow pointing toward it, and then I would come over here, and right now we'll put a little light bulb on there. So what happens, and I program my timer to delay on make. You understand that so far? So this is what we're delaying. So this contact right here is going to be controlled by CR. So I come over here, I press the button. CR energizes, closes this contact. Since it's an on delay timer, the timer starts timing. Let's say we have for 20 seconds, this contact would close and the light would come on. Okay, you understand that? Yes or no? So what we do on the contact control timer, it is controlled when the time is controlled by a contact. Right? Everybody understand that? That makes sense? Okay. So why wouldn't this work? Or would it work? I should rephrase that. I hadn't got it drawn yet. I'm just going to jump that. Would that work? I press the play button, I put the power on the timer, it says delay on make, it's made, and it's first time. So this will work fine. So we're going to use this thing as a timer. We would basically kind of look like a voltage to go timer, but we would jump the contact, right? You understand that? So as soon as you put power on the timer, it says delay, and the contact is what? And it's made. So let's say this one wire. Okay. What about a delay on break? Would this work on a delay on break? No. Because the timer is going to be made after it de-energizes, right? You understand? So if I'm going to do a delay on break, then what I would have to do is I would use the other circuit. I would come up here and I'd have a contact right here. Oh, sorry. So when you do your on-delay timer labs, you just jump the contact and you do it just like a regular timer, right? You understand? Off delay, where you got problems, in that off delay means I'm taking power off, right? You understand that? So we go back to a contact control. We have to use a contact right here. And now I'm going to hook it up directly across. So I've got power on the timer, and up here, we'll come up here, instead of using the normally, I'm going to put this. Then I'm going to have CR right here. This is going to be a CR contact. And I'm going to set it up on delay on break. So it means when this contact right here breaks, the timer's going to start timing. So right now, this contact is open, right? This contact would be what? It would be closed because the relay, but it's not going to start timing on make, it's going to start timing on break. So I de-energize my control coil. That means this contact right here is going to open. The timer will start timing, right? So the only time you got to put a contact between those control pins is if we're using it as an off delay timer. And you got to have another device that controls it. So off delay timer, you want to put power across it all the time. And then you put a delay on break. It's not break, it's you're not removing from the timer like you would an extra timer. You're removing it from the device that's controlling that contact. So the only time you got to go to this contact, which is stored, I'm sorry, we got a single post on the row. It's between 3, and we can use 1 and 4, 3 and 4, or we could use 3 and 1 for this. Power is 2 and 7. It's got plus and minus on here, but this guy here runs off AC or run off DC. All the time you have the only time you have power, the plus and minus, is if you run this thing off DC or off DC. If you power it off AC, it makes no difference which one you use. So the four is between 2 and 7. Your initiate switch, they should call it that. That's your contact right there. It's between, somebody's been marking on this with a pencil, guys. Y'all don't mark on these. This is between 6 and 5. So if you're going to use it as an on delay, just put a jumper between 6 and 5 and just use it as a time. If you use an off delay, and you take off the jumper, you put a contact between 6 and 5. Then you got a single pro contact that you're going to so delay on break, delay on break, delay on break, on delay. We put a jumper between 5 and 6. And then when you power it up, it starts timing. On delay on break, you put contact between 5 and 6. And then you have your multipliers. So we got a multiplier of 0.1, 1, and 10. So 10, 100 would equal to 1,000 seconds. Right? So that's the range we have here. So this one is pretty easy. You don't need a data sheet. All you need to understand is play on making and play on break. So these are contact control timers. So let's start timing when this contact is through. And that's what they're calling initiate on that diagram up there. That's where your contact would be. On delay, you don't have to have this circuit up here. You just wire your control devices over here, and then you just do what? Jump it. Because when you put power on here, okay, power goes right there. You say, okay, is that contact made? Yes, it's made because I have it jumped, and it will start timing. So this would be for your on delay, and this is the timer we're going to be using in the lab, guys. This because why? So what advantage does a programmable timer have over an off delay timer? You buy one timer, your whole company has to keep one spare that covers all your timers. Now, if you got PLCs, the timers are built into them, by the way. You have to do special things to get cycle timers in one shot. In fact, you got a one-shot instruction. You got a one-shot rising, one-shot falling, so you can get your one shot when the run goes through, or you can get your one shot when the run goes false. And then a cycle timer, we would just create a cross couple timers. We can do that. So that's about it on timers. Y'all got any questions? They're just showing wiring for this, motor-driven timers. That's the synchronous timers we looked at. Multiple contact timers. What's nice about a PLC, you know, you put as many contacts as you need, right? And then counters, we're going to look at a little bit. Counters are actually electronic devices. So we're going to run. Where are we going to run into timers in the industry? How many timers do you probably need? We use timers to sequence start motors. We use timers to prevent plugging. So what we can do is we can use a timer that when you hit stop, it's got to time out before you can do what? Before you can reverse it or change directions. We use timers to sequence things. We get timers to make things happen at the same time every day. We use timers all over the place in the industry. Now they're probably programmed into a PLC. They got the same function off delay, on delay. We have the same two timers there. Cycle timers. We've got cycle timers have been used so much that we can do something really neat. I'll let the class there. One shot, say a one shot instructions. They'll give you a one shot when the run goes true, but they also give you a one shot if the run goes off. These are all programmed now. And what's nice about a PLC is that if you want to change the time, you could be sitting up in your pocket somewhere and change the time on the line down in Alabama because these guys are networkable. Most of your PLCs use the same scheme that we use on the internet. So you can set it on call remote access on your system, which means people off campus, if they know the passwords and everything, they can come in and do you got to work on your system or your PLC program, not your mechanics, but your PLC system from anywhere. They just hook up a computer to the network. We had a guy working at Rose that said they noticed something was changing, and the guy, I don't know what it was, they were making minute changes on the system, and they wasn't even on site anymore. A lot of these companies specialize in this. We teach 3 PLC classes here. We teach intro PLCs, which will get you through timers and counters, and then we teach advanced PLCs, which gets you into the computer what we can do with control logic. So with control logic, we can't do math. We can do relay logic, but we can't do full blown logic, right? Compares, seeing when things are equal and they're not equal. All we got is 2 things. We might need to compare 15 things. We can do shifts. We can do all kind of neat stuff. So a lot of PLCs add not only what you can do with relays, but also what you can do with computers. So this is another big advantage to PLC. So we can't do math with control relays, right? Understand that? We can definitely do it with a computer. So this is why PLCs are starting to dominate the control section. They're not dominating the power section. They're dominating the what? The control section of a control system. They sure are. So any new installations, what Kevin was talking about, the relay logic, because I did not, their electricians did not have to know how to work on PLCs. So they probably hired a new person. So that guy must have been in the family, right? Been there for years. The only thing else covered in this chapter is counters and counters, guys. These are totally solid state. These things usually plug into a wall somewhere, and we bring in an input, and they count up or count down. So, I mean, these are not something that you might find it in control, but these are going to be electronic units that you just wire up. So we're not going to talk about up counters. Of course, up counters are going to count what? Down counters are going to count down. We do have some up counters. Count is you trigger one side, one input, it'll count up. You trigger the other, and it count down. These are real popular, especially trying to keep up with like how many devices you have on the line or how many rejects you have, where you count everything that comes through one spot and you count everything that comes out the end and everything that goes on the reject out. You do what? You just count down on those, so you can keep up with that. These are definitely nothing but solid state. So that's it. that's it. So we've got about an hour. So let's go. We can work on that. I've got certain things I got to show y'all. So let me give out some of these things that's got problems in that I didn't grade. Let me figure out what I did with them. The ones that I didn't grade. So I hadn't entered these in yet. What did I do with them, guys? Oh, this is DLC, so it's probably so Marcel's not here today. Oh, he's coming out. Clifford. There's another one for Maurice. There's another one for Clifford. Here's another one for Clifford. So that's 3 so far. Here's another one for Clifford. Here's another one for Clifford. What are you not doing? Kevin? Here's another Clifford. Jason's got his another Clifford. Every one of them says what? No title page. Or no name on the title page. Jason's not here anymore. Here's another Clifford. Kevin? Nope, you're okay. Kevin, that's the only one I have on you. James Roy, I got one. He's not here today. And I haven't got into the last section, guys. The other problem we have is a lot of y'all are not putting the actual time that you work on this. So Marcel's not here today. Maurice went out of the building. So on your chapter abbreviation, all it is just going to be SLMOC. There's not going to be a page number out there, right? I know the page. Then you're going to put the experiment number, right? Somebody in here, I get that back. Somebody put the page instead of the experiment page in there. And so I still am working on LD. I got, oh no, that's Maurice. Here's James. Here's Marcel. Here's Jason Newell. He's not coming anymore. So, still working on LD 4. By the way, on your call, the amount of time another thing that you're not doing is you don't get your quizzes back. According to my procedure, you're supposed to put your name at the top of the check. So that way, when I cut them off, I know they come from right. Understand that? So on your check of that chapter, yes, you're supposed to put your name on the first page. That way, when I cut them off, I give them back to you. Yeah, no, I didn't take off of that right now. I'm only on my hand from now on. No, I'll take care of those. Take off. Because if I did that, so if I get a pair of scissors at the end of the tournament, if you don't put your name up there, then all I got is a checkup that don't belong to anybody, right? Get the checkup back. If you want your labs back, after I think 2 weeks of the semester, tell me, make it 1 week because I'm busy, I move around when you want your labs back. So technically, I keep, and I have to keep the reversing lab. Because that's part of where it's so low. We have to keep that one. So y'all get your first lab, and you won't get your I want the lab to be graded. So you'll make these corrections. I'm already going to put page numbers right here. I don't care about page numbers. I can count off for them, right? Okay. All I want is PS. And for some reason, you didn't put any questions on this one. Here you didn't put your name on the top page. Here you didn't put your name on the top page. So chapter quizzes is chapter 5.2. Okay, I'm sorry. So he don't have the questions. And guys, on one of the safety quizzes, I told y'all this. I gave y'all the answer about 3 times. You can't check voltage with power off. Y'all understand that, right? You can't check voltage. You can't measure voltage across the fuse with power off. I think 5 or 6 things. So those answers like 10 points apiece. So now you can work on that for an hour, or you can go to you. Put all this stuff up. Once those corrections for me. Yeah. You want to get in over there?